Havoc.
News, interviews, and more.
We just reek of Huntsville Havoc hockey.
Time for another Reekin Havoc podcast. I'm Tim Lambert. We travel back about 10 years to the first time the team won the championship and visit with former center Justin Rohr in the slot. We'll also add to your hockey smarts with another Hockey 101 tidbit and pass along some reminders for the offseason as the Reekin Havoc podcast continues.
The Reekin Havoc podcast.
One of the worst feelings you can have is that of being stranded. Well, BT's Towing, Tire, and Truck Repair makes that a thing of the past with 24/7 towing services and roadside assistance in the northern Alabama and southern Tennessee areas. But that's not all. They also offer truck and trailer repair, mobile welding, brake service and repair, new and used tires, and other major and minor repairs. Their name says it all. BT's Towing, Tire, and Truck Repair. For 24/7 response, call 497-8234. That's 497-8234. BT's Towing, Tire, and Truck Repair.
Athens Utilities comprises Athens Electric, Athens Gas, and Athens Water Services. Together, we are committed to providing reliable and affordable electricity, natural gas, and water and wastewater services. We operate as part of the City of Athens, and just like our city's motto of Athens is classic, Southern, character, we believe in supporting what makes our community special. Call 233-8750. Come by our office at 508 South Jefferson Street or look for the link online at athensal.us.
Got something to say? Put it on a t-shirt or hoodie or apron or even an iPhone case. Just go to daddyoscustomtees.com and make it happen. Look through their selection of ready-made designs or make one of your own. Check out their special hockey designs too. With Daddy O's Custom Tees, you can truly have it your way. Look for Daddy O's Custom Tees on Facebook, follow them on Twitter or Instagram, or go online to daddyoscustomtees.com. That's DADDYOS Custom TEES.com. Daddy O's Custom Tees. They've got your back or front.
Let's go in the slot.
This week in the slot, I caught up with former center Justin Rohr. Let me just get the Justin Rohr story.
Oh, goodness. Okay. So if we go back, just getting on the ice, well, I always joke around. I always love that story when I was born. He put a hockey stick in my hand. And so we always joke around about that of, hey, when did you first pick up a hockey stick? Well, I'm like, well, I didn't really know I was picking up or holding it, but I know he had one in my hand when I was born. So we always joke around about that. After that, it was started playing Tom Thumb hockey in Lloydminster, Saskatchewan, and kind of did a few years playing that. And then my dad was in Saskatchewan wheat pool, the agriculture business, and so we moved every 4 years. And so when we'd have to pick up and go, so I'd have to always join a new team, make new friends. So it made it pretty easy to travel around and jump into the schools because you always had a sports team to fall back on. If it was hockey was obviously number one. I played a lot of baseball, and I was a catcher in baseball, so I played that up to high school. And then essentially that was choosing, hey, which direction are you gonna go? And hockey was always my passion. But in high school as well, I played football, and always were between hockey, golf, football, and baseball. That kept me busy. And then in the summertime, I did a lot of water sports. I was fortunate that I was able to grow up, and my dad did a lot of water sports, and my mom growing up, and they introduced that to us as well. And so we did a lot of skiing and barefooting and wakeboarding and surfing, and so we spent a lot of time at the lake in the summer and camping, and and then football was a good one. I always liked football. I was on the defensive side. I enjoyed that rough stuff, especially when I played hockey. So that helped, and we were fortunate. We won provincials in our high school town, and it was the first one since 1970. So we had a bunch of the alumni at the game, and they were all teachers at that point now. And so that was pretty good. But those were my main sports. Anything a little bit of adrenaline rush that to get going, rock climbing, downhill biking, snowboarding. So yeah, so that always made those transitions and making those friends pretty easy. But went from playing a little bit of hockey there to and the Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. Played another 4 years there up until Adam, I guess it was. Played Adam there, and then moved to Melfort, Saskatchewan, a little further north from Moose Jaw, and ended up graduating there from grade 7 to grade 12. So played all my Pee-wee, Bantam, and midget hockey there, and and then actually made the Sask first team, which they split it up in regions. There's different zones within the Sask first, and so I ended up making that throughout our area, and that's what helped me get scouted for playing up in La Ronge for junior A hockey. And so when I did that, I made that team. We had a good showing, and then got invited to a few camps. Decided to pick La Ronge, Saskatchewan, way up north, which is funny. I was just actually up there this past weekend. We had an alumni golf tournament and fishing trip. So it was nice to, we saw probably, there's about 30 of us alumni that made it up on that one, and then a bunch of some current players. And then, it was just great to see all the board members and a lot of fans and people that really helped, first time getting billeted out and really shaping, how to start to really take things a little bit more serious, living away from home, fending for yourself a little bit, put it that way. So that was good. So actually, that's funny that just came up. And then, so played 3 years up there, had a lot of success, which was good. A lot of great teammates around me, a lot of hard work, and ended up getting that NCAA scholarship to Manhattanville College after my 20-year-old year, and spent 4 years in Purchase, New York, and just out in Westchester County. So about a 20 to 30 minute train ride outside of New York City, which did business there, did finance and marketing. But yeah, that was a blast, and lucked out. The dollar was at par, so I with the scholarship was paid for, and housing and everything on that end. I didn't have to. All I had to worry about was fending for myself out at the bars and food. So it wasn't too bad.
Now you talked about getting a scholarship. Manhattanville. That's NCAA Division III.
Correct.
Does it depend on the school as to whether you can get a scholarship in Division III? Because I've talked to some guys and they were like, well, Division III doesn't give scholarships. And so I didn't know if it just varied from school to school.
Yeah, so how they set it up is, at that time when I went in 03, it was chatting with a couple of Division I's and then chatting with Division III. There was no Division II that would give, the most competitive was 1 and 3. But what happened was, so with the 1 at that time, was they only give a couple of full ride scholarships to certain players. And then the remainder is, hey, you might get 80%, 60%, 50%. And then you might get that for 1 or 2 years. Let's see how you do based off of, how you're performing. And then, hey, maybe the 3rd and 4th year, you might get a 60, 70, or 80% paid for. So that was, I think it's still the same, similar to that, what it is right now. Okay. And then in Division III, it's a scholarship, but they base it off financial aid. So your academics. So essentially, so it's all essentially, hey, here was my grades and my SAT mark throughout high school. Here are my marks here, my financial aid. And then it's, what is your income from your family and how do you put that all together? Yeah, and then, hey, we're going to give you this amount of money. There's some scholarships available, and there's ways around it to get a lot of that paid for. So I was on a 98% ride. And then you have your schooling paid for. You're at the cafeterias, you get your 3 meals, all your schooling, all your books, everything was completely covered. So that's how that worked when I went. And I just, like, so then they break it down a little bit. Whereas in Div 1, if you're not performing, they can cut you and you lose your scholarship.
Yeah.
Based off of Div 3, you're based off of academics. So as long as you're not flunking out now and somehow they cut you off the hockey team, you can still continue to go to school.
Okay.
So,
all right, because I knew
difference on that end.
Okay, yeah, I knew some schools. Some of the divisions. That's the way they would work it. You wouldn't get a full athletic ride. So, but they are able to give you the academic part of it too. So, which helps.
Yeah, no, and I think it's still very similar in that realm. I know I'm trying to dig into it and help out a few individuals again here now. That I just met up in La Ronge, a couple 20-year-olds. They've been chatting with my school currently. So just trying to help out and give a little advice from that side. So I think it's very similar, but yeah, no, it worked out really well. Can't complain, going from La Ronge, Saskatchewan to New York City.
Now you mentioned Tom Thumb, hockey. Is that a common expression up there, kind of like Dixie Youth Baseball is down around these parts?
Yeah, they refer to it as like a squirts, or like basically your first couple years of hockey. And within that, Lloydminster area, a little bit of Alberta, a few towns surrounding Saskatchewan, that's what they happen to call it. So Tom Thumb hockey. So probably very similar with that, what you're referring to on baseball.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you majored in what in college?
I did a business degree, so I did finance and marketing.
Okay, all right. So from there, you went to Muskegon and played 70 games there. Because I'm looking here at eliteprospects.com here. That's kind of my go-to, and a lot of games. You had a lot of games per season in La Ronge, and then it drops down to 15, 20-something games in college, and then jumps up to 70 in Muskegon. I don't know. I just what's that like going from playing so many to so few, and then back again? I mean, you get bored. Well, I guess in college, you're there to go to school too, so it's not like you can just overdo the games, I guess.
No, and that's how they set it up. So normally, unless you're taking a class or two, you're going to high school in junior hockey, and outside of that, you're working a bit, or second job outside of getting paid a few dollars here to play junior hockey. But in college, you could definitely, it'd be nice to play games, but they usually set those games up unless it's really close to where you have another team you're playing. Usually that's, you get on the road Thursday night and you're playing Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Okay. And that's your schedule. And you're, like exactly what you said, you're concentrating on school during the week. And then you get a little bit of leeway. You can't take classes on Friday. We couldn't take classes in the morning before noon. That's when our practices and workouts were. And then, then you're just on the road for either at home or on the road. And basically you're playing 2 to 3 games, either that Friday, Saturday, Sunday for that year. So to go from, you wanted to play more games, you understand it's a different style of hockey as well. But then going into playing first year semi-pro, it was nice. That was nice to get in and play that many games and get into a routine. And the way I looked at it is, if you had a bad game, you missed scoring that goal or setting up or fighting or whatever it may have been, essentially you're right back at it in a day or two. So that was good. We didn't do too well and continue through the playoffs, but it was nice to go to that, and then you can kind of continue that. And then after Muskegon, I tried my hand out in Europe and had a quick stint in Serbia for 3 months. And so you're back to that European style of hockey. You're only playing, I think we only played 20 some games, 25 games too in that 3-month span. So that was a little bit more of an adjustment. Full you have Olympic size ice. Yeah. So just a different style of game. Tried to continue to muck it up like you did, but it was just a little bit of a different style game and a lot more ice to play with and finesse, and just like everything you hear, right?
Yeah. I hear some of these guys talk about how different the playing style is in Europe than it is here. Is it tougher, rougher, harder on you, or just different?
Yeah, no, it was a lot. Unless you're trying to mix it up with the other team, it was a lot lighter. It was a lot easier on the body. There's a lot more skating. So how they essentially set our days up were we had skills in the morning. So you're always working on skills. You're always working on speed, agility, doing a few things on that end. And then you practice with the team in the afternoon. And so they set up a lot of that. And it was a lot of touch and go, a lot of passing the puck, a lot of plays you're setting up just because of the bigger ice, a lot of stretch plays, so not as much hitting unless you got another team that had, a few other guys that wanted to mix it up as well. Then it would get a little bit more physical. But yeah, definitely a lot more in that North American game, definitely a lot more hitting.
Okay. Going to Serbia, what was it like there? I mean, just being there, how hard was the communication?
Yeah, so it was, I was just trying to get over there. I just wanted to get to Europe no matter what. There's so many good players out there, a lot of hockey players. There's a lot of teams, and I just wanted to get over to Serbia. And so at first it was like, where the heck am I going? And once I got over there, the team treated us like gold. We were owned by the mafia and the mob. And
wow.
So we were essentially, I got a funny story on that one. So I show up, not knowing the language, once I realized I was going, I think I had a month before I knew I was going. So I was trying to pick up a few of the words and slang and understand a little bit so I could get by for, the first day. But I showed up and I had a guy pick us up and he dropped me off at a restaurant. And so there I met the team president, the coach, and one of the owners. And so we're sitting there, and they all speak English. One guy was one of the Canadian coaches. And so we're all sitting there and they have rakia, and rakia is their moonshine. And so we're sitting there and eating, having a bit of moonshine and rakia. And then finally it's kind of getting towards the end of the night. And this is my first night in. So it's like, okay, time for you to go home. We got practice in the morning. I said, yeah, perfect. Sounds good. And they're like, hey, grab your bag. It's like, my bag? And I'm looking at them and they're like, yeah, grab your bag under the table. And then I grabbed my bag and it was a duffel bag full of cash.
Oh,
right. So I was like, oh, I guess okay. So they owed me a little bit of money up front and I brought a few things in, so they owed me a little bit of that money, and then more or less my first paycheck. And so I had a little bit of cash in a little small duffel bag. And so anyway, got a good chuckle over that. And there is a guy in a new country and thinking, oh man, they're going to rob me, right? So I'm booking it, hightailing it back to my apartment, hiding the money, and yeah, it was it was pretty comical, but it was good. It was quite the experience over there. I played with four other Canadians. They were all from Montreal. They played at McGill, and so we met those guys and a bunch of the locals on the team, and eventually just started learning the language. We walked to the rink. We wouldn't get very many fans, but it was they were passionate about their hockey as well in the area. They had a lot of youth programs, and so it was a very cool experience. And we got to travel around a little bit through there, up to Croatia, Bosnia, spent some time in those areas. So remote areas in Eastern Europe that you wouldn't normally go to, and then once you just start trying to pick up the language a little bit. So I wouldn't say I could speak fluent by any means, but I can get by in a grocery store, the market, renting cars, whatever it may have been. So yeah, it was a really cool experience. And then we played other teams around the area. And what shocked me and not really knowing is when you go into Belgrade, which is their capital, we were in Novi Sad, and Belgrade was, you start seeing all the government buildings from back in the war, and it's all rubble still. So nothing's been cleaned up. Obviously just from an infrastructure side, they're not rebuilding. Things were bombed. It was interesting just listening to a few stories from some of my teammates. They said when they were younger guys, and when they were a little, even little kids, they said they used to sit on top of their house roof and watch the fireworks show. And I was like, oh, fireworks fireworks show? And they're like, yeah, the bombings.
Uh.
And I was like, oh, okay. Well, this is a little different world. This isn't actual fireworks that I'm used to. But
Yeah.
so it was a great experience. It was some good guys there that I still try to keep in touch with. That's for sure.
So is there a go-to expression that you learned while you were over there?
Oh my goodness. Oh, I wouldn't even be able to remember now.
Okay.
There would have been something. It would have probably been a swear word to get the boys going in the room, right? But I can't quite remember.
Oh, okay.
I remember the rakia. The rakia was good. I remember bringing a bunch of rakia home for some buddies, and everybody enjoyed it. Would sip on that. But yeah, that was and then the markets. The markets were phenomenal, and the people were just very down to earth. Once you try to understand that you could try and speak to them in their language, they would just treat you like gold. So it was good. So,
and you were talking about trying to get home, looking over your shoulder. I bet you probably had protection you didn't even know about if you were owned by the mafia.
It was, yeah, we did, and it really came into. We noticed that, and won't drag on too much, but I can tell you about 100 stories. We were able to be guests and go from the football team, the soccer squad. So Novi Sad, big rival with Belgrade, and so we got invited to a game one time, and we show up at 7 a.m. at a couple of the pubs, and it was just like you would see on the Hooligans. And all these guys are skinhead. They got scars everywhere. They were part of this hooligan group. They followed the soccer team. They did whatever was necessary, right? And wanted to be a part of this group. And so just trying to understand and learn from that a little bit of how, what their life entailed, and broken homes, and which was crazy to see, but how they were able to join this hooligan group was they grabbed 20 of you were 16 years old to 20 years old, and they would grab another 20 guys from another squad, and they would just box off. They just fight. No weapons. You have to show ID, and you just box. And that's how you become part of the hooligan group, the firm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
so it was interesting on that end.
And if the mafia owned you, you wouldn't want to make the owners mad either. So
no, and it's, they weren't really, you didn't see them. Obviously, you met some of the presidents from the team, but they had their hand in a bunch of stuff, and they probably, they donated all their money and things to keep the team running, right?
Yeah.
And pay everybody. But yeah, no, you wanted to try and keep scoring goals, or wasn't quite probably as bad as Russia and stories you hear about Russia and guys playing over there. But it's we were treated very well.
So you're in Serbia. How do you make it to Huntsville?
So the season wrapped up, and I wanted to keep playing. And so I started making some calls and some connections on where else I could try and play next. And if that was in the East Coast, the Central League, in the SP, and finally was able to get in touch with Huntsville and Columbus. And I was actually in the Germany airport and negotiating on, hey, when can I get there? What does it look like? Negotiating a little bit of a contract and show up. So that's how I ended up making it to Huntsville. And I made it for the last, I think it was 10 games, and then playoffs started. And that's when I rolled in. So that's how I'm trying to remember why I picked Huntsville over Columbus. Maybe just always wanted to go to Alabama, and got a good feeling from who was the team and who was there, and ended up picking that side. And the rest is history on that end. So it worked out really well.
So what did you expect, or did you expect anything from hockey here in the South?
As far as expectations, and just had some buddies that have, cruise through the leagues. It was always, hey, that Southern hospitality, and, understanding a little bit more of how the game had grown. And it came down to a point of like, I just want to keep playing. I want to, I know I'm not going to the NHL, and I just want to play some good hockey, and, some good crowds, be around some good people. That was the feeling that I got, and that's why I wanted to come back for my last year that I ended up coming back for. From an expectation standpoint, I didn't know what to expect. I was coming out of Europe, and I played in Muskegon as my first year pro. Had some really good board members and fans and friends and people from that end of it. So an expectation was, I didn't have one until right after. And I was like, wow, this is, what a place. And, I'll tell everybody to this day, and if anybody ever tries to go and play or plan on playing, I said, take a look. You'll never get treated better than down in the South, not alone just Alabama, but down in the South. So I was, maybe I have an expectation now that, hey, it's that good, but I didn't have anything going into it. It was just wanted to play, got a good feeling from a good conversation, and made it work.
Yeah.
Made it work. So.
Yeah. Well, they'd only been around, of course, the Havoc themselves, had only been around about 10 years, I guess, before you got there. But
yeah.
Well, what about guys that maybe heroes that you had or that you tried to model your game after, or games, no matter what the sport was? I mean, what were some of your guys maybe you had posters of on the wall?
I did. It was the classics, but growing up, my big one was Wendell Clark, and I tried to, outside of probably not fighting as much as him, I tried to emulate his game as much as I could. I was fortunate. He's a Saskatchewan boy as well, and I got to go to a bunch of his hockey schools, and with him and Barry Melrose. So that was nice. I was fortunate on that end. So that would be the big one that my dad was a big fan of him as well, Stevie Eiserman. And then I look back at a couple of the smaller guys, and, Martin St. Louis, and just some of those guys. But the big one was a Wendell Clark, and, tried to play like I was 6 feet.
We'll be back with more of the Reekin Havoc podcast.
My name is Joel, and I came to St. Jude Children's Research Hospital in December of 1987 to be treated for osteosarcoma, which is bone cancer. We didn't know anything about St. Jude. We didn't know what they meant, or that, when we got here, what we would do, how it would be taken care of. And when we arrived, we found out that my family wasn't going to have to pay for any of my treatment, not for my medicine, not for travel, not for housing, not for food. St. Jude was going to cover all that. St. Jude supported me in every way, from, taking that financial burden off my parents to making sure that all of my family was included in this time. St. Jude literally means everything to me. I get to go home to my family tonight. I get to cook dinner for them. That's what you're giving. You are giving us everything by supporting St. Jude. So thank you so much.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
Hey, this is Alex Brandrup, and you're listening to the Reekin Havoc podcast.
Was the center position the only one you ever wanted to play, or did you ever want to try another one? I'm going to assume not goalie, but
I've got one story when I was a goalie, and my dad looked at me and said, "Do you ever want to play again?" I said, "Nope." We lost 10-2. So that was in Adam hockey. We lost 10-2, and that was it. So I hung them up. I said I didn't mind playing it in street hockey, but not on the ice. You know what? I always enjoyed center, and that might have been starting out early, and you play multiple positions at a young age, and probably just gravitated towards trying to score goals and set guys up and help my teammates out from an early age, and that just stuck with me. And it seems like I always want to be in the action, and from taking draws to having to be back and play defense to getting in on the other end. So. Yeah, it's I played a little bit of wing in Muskegon and kind of floated back and forth, but outside of playing maybe some defense on a power play, majority of it was center and a little bit of wing sprinkled in.
Okay. What apart from the position you played on the ice, was there a particular role that you tended to fill, maybe with whatever team you were with? A fighter, troublemaker, talker?
Yeah. I've always my hard work. I was able to put some skill and score some goals, and was fortunate to put up a lot of points in a couple different leagues. But I always my main goal was to get out there, be a good teammate. My hard work, and then those balances came to it. So I would consider myself a really good two-way player, and that's what I tried to emulate is do that the full sheet of the ice. And was I ever classified as somebody on the team? Well, I wouldn't say I would never be a fighter. I wouldn't mind dropping the gloves. I like that side of it. I always loved the rough stuff and hitting, but I always like the finesse side as well, and making plays and putting the puck in the net. So I was fortunate on that side of it.
When you speak of not being a fighter, I did see a fight online. 3 of you went against some Mississippi players.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yeah, that was I think we might have been wearing the USA jerseys, I believe. The old,
I believe so. I believe they were
yes.
red, white, and blue.
Yes, back in the USA one. So yeah, you know what? I was probably just trying to help old Kublak there. He was those guys didn't want to fight and trying to keep them out of the way. But yeah, that's a good comical video. Not much of a fight on that one because the guys didn't want to go, but yeah. I definitely would have. I don't think at that time, probably nice guys, but I know I didn't like them at the time. And we ended up beating them in the final anyways.
Yeah. And that's what the caption said is like, you guys jumped in and they wanted no part of it. So.
Yeah. I think it was Sicard, myself, and Coobs on that one. And Coobs had 2 guys down and Sicard had 1, I think. And then I was trying the other 2.
Well,
that's good.
Is there maybe another fight or a certain play or maybe even an injury that kind of comes to mind for you from your days in Huntsville? Or not even just Huntsville, some other place.
Oh, something that comes to mind. Well, Huntsville was actually my last year. I probably junior 18, 19, and 20, maybe scrapped 20 times. I think I scrapped 5 or 6 times one year and a couple the next each year after that. But semi-pro, maybe a handful. They had guys that would do that unless somebody pissed you off. I know I ran a guy pretty good and got jumped by a couple of guys when I was in Muskegon. I was in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Just playing rough and tough. One that does come to mind, I guess, is I ended up getting hit from behind in Huntsville my last year, and we got up and had a little. I think there was a little 3 or 4 of us. Maybe it was a full line brawl or not, but there was 3 or 4 of us guys all jumped in, but I ended up smashing my nose and had to play with a left crooked nose for the rest of the season, and then ended up getting it fixed. Had to go under the knife at the end of the year and have a nose job. So yeah, that was one that does stand out. Even a college one. There's another college one that stands out that was our last year, and of course you don't fight in college. You're wearing cages in NCAA, and had a goalie slash me. We had a big rivalry against these guys. There was actually a guy I played with in junior in Laurens, and so I gave the goalie a little slash back, and he went down and flopped pretty good. And so then they had 2 guys jump me, and we all got our helmets off, and we were going at it, and ended up starting a pretty good line brawl on that one in college. So needless to say, we all got suspended for 3 games on that one.
Okay. So it's not like you can't fight; they just don't want you to.
Yeah, well, exactly right. Yeah. Did I win them all? Geez, I wish I could say I won them all, but no. Yeah, there's always somebody tougher.
Well, did you have any game day rituals, routines? What was the way you did things on game day?
Yeah, on game day for sure. I'd always like to get to the rink, a little over 2 hours before the game. And then I always, everybody says they always like to eat, before they come to the rink. So I would eat a pretty good meal before coming to the rink. And then I always have a sandwich or a snack or something I would have after. I would grab my sticks. I'd grab my sticks and I'd always tape my sticks first. Always taped them a certain way from doing my handle first. And then when I was in Huntsville, I got into spray painting the bottoms. So I'd spray paint the bottoms and then I would tape the bottom, toe to heel. But I always do that. I always use white tape. And then I would go and I would eat, eat my sandwich, eat my food. And at that point start getting, things getting ready from the equipment side. But before I would start getting dressed, I'd always have an ice bath. So I'd always jump in and sit in the cold tub, the ice bath for about 5 minutes.
Ooh.
And then outside of that, so I always just got my legs going and got everything fired up and jacked up. And then once I started getting ready, I always dressed my left side first. I always had my left skate, my pants would go on the left side first, my underwear, my cans, my jock strap, you name it, shin pads, socks. I always did the left side first. Yeah. So.
Well, you're left-handed though too. You're left.
I would shoot left.
Yeah, you shoot. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess that's where that comes from.
Yeah. Yeah. Tape it, and then I had a couple of years, but I'd always make good friends with the trainers and have that before warm-ups, there'd always be a certain time they'd put like a double bubble, little packet of gum under my helmet, and then I would have that for warm-ups. I'd go out and chew gum while I was playing in warm-up. But those were a few of them anyway. That was unless if we're on a winning streak, everybody says, "Oh, I wear the same underwear," but I don't. I think maybe in only playoffs, maybe we didn't wash it when we were getting close to winning the whole thing. So.
Was there a certain team that you enjoyed? I know you want to win all of them, all the games, but was there a certain team that maybe you got a little bit more enjoyment out of beating than others while you're in Huntsville?
Oh, definitely Mississippi, or definitely our last year. They seemed like a pretty good rival, even rolling in from the year before. And a couple guys, I know there was a few of us, we got into it with them. And I think there was just a really good battle throughout that year. And then to top it off in the final, it just made it much sweeter. But everybody's just playing hard and competitive. Was there one team you like beating more? Just depending on if it was necessarily a team or if it was maybe one guy on that team. If there was one guy on that team that maybe you didn't like, or he was he took a lot of cheap shots, then it was always nice to get them back and beat them. But
well, so you mentioned you were in Huntsville for the last part of 2009, then came back the next season and won a cup.
Yes.
So one of your former teammates wanted to know what was your favorite cup memory.
My favorite cup memory would be, so we won it, and we did the whole thing around and on the ice, and it was nice passing everything around, just seeing the enjoyment, chatting with all the guys, and just that whole experience. Because I would say that, not really winning something like that before outside of, a football championship or maybe in Pee Wee or, 12 years old, right? So it's a little bit this atmosphere. You don't have, 6,000 fans and a bunch of people outside. So, soaking that all in, and I wish it could have lasted forever. But that whole thing, that fan experience was phenomenal. But the one thing I would say really topped it off is I grabbed the cup and I walked outside because we had a ton of fans outside, and I don't know if there was 300, 500 or 1,000, but I think they had a TV set up outside so anybody that couldn't get into the rink could watch the game outside. And so we had a big pond. You're familiar with that big pond out there.
Yeah. And
I still had all my equipment on except for my helmets and my gloves. And I grabbed the cup and I ran and I jumped into the pond with the cup and ended up having a few people follow from my teammates. And then also a bunch of the fans. A bunch of the fans came and jumped in and joined us in the pond. So I bet you we had 25, 30 people in the pond. So that would have been... that would have been a good one. It was just that excitement. Everybody's, winning the cup, and the support we had. It was the best. It was the best. So that one definitely stands out. And then obviously it's going out and celebrating with the guys and around the town and the parade was perfect. And then I know before we left, I think it was parade day, and how many people showed up, just chat with everybody and that excitement and support. And yeah, it was good. But yeah, Jeff definitely jumping in the pond was one that stands out. So,
and I was going to say, I saw some pictures of you guys out in that, and I thought they've actually got the cup out there with them.
yeah, it was don't let it drop. It was gonna sink to the bottom, but yeah, we passed it around in there, and I know we had to all the gear on the skates. We had to definitely sharpen our skates after, but no, that was good. That was a good one.
Now, you talked about fans being out there and the fan support. What was some of your favorite hockey community things? Because I know the team goes out and does things at schools or in the community. What was some of your favorite things to do?
Yeah, my any team I joined in Huntsville was one of them exception as well. Because I always volunteered at the schools, so it was even from my junior days. College we would go and help out at some broken neighborhoods, and families and parents were either in jail or they're gone. So you're just trying to help be a support system there, or whatever it is, just try to get them to laugh. So from junior going into schools and helping out with different programs there and tutoring into college. And then when I started playing semi-pro, it was, getting involved in the hospitals as well as the schools. I know I was particular with being in Huntsville I know I visited a lot of the schools and was a part of that, which is nice. That was always seeing the kids and, seeing how excited they are and, just being a part of that. I remember signing how many different foreheads, right? So I'm signing marker on their foreheads, and it's, they were just so excited and being around and, reading to them or, just hanging out, playing in the gym with them or whatever it may have been. So that, and then the hospitals and going to the hospitals and visiting kids and individuals in that end. So that was always what I tried to be a part of. We had time and, to give back that way.
And I guess, is it something the whole team does go into the NICU, the week of the Melissa George game, or is that just?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember at that time. I know, I didn't that year, but there was definitely things we supported on that Melissa George night. And, yeah, it was. I think maybe the guys do that now. I'm not sure if the whole team goes.
I didn't know if the whole team went, but I know they do go and get a chance to see some of those babies.
Yeah, I would do that outside of that particular night or that time, but okay. I know that that was a big reason, and being a part of that, and just trying to support from that side, right?
Yeah,
that's good. I'm glad they keep that up, and I see pictures on that and videos, and that's something special.
Yeah. When I noticed you changed numbers from one year to the next here in Huntsville. What was the deal there?
I was given 18.
Okay.
So I was given number 18, and then I was either going to take 40 or 82, and I'd never been 82 the year I was born, and that stuck. So I always liked the higher numbers, and that's why I swapped.
Okay. Now, you mentioned that you're in Huntsville being, basically your last year. What was the reason that you didn't come back? I mean, looking at the stats here, it looks like you had a good year. So was there an injury, or did you just decide you didn't want to do it, or what?
Yeah, no, it was, I definitely wanted to do it again. It was coming down to the point where, looking at my age and starting a career and going to kind of get that on the go. Okay. I would have loved to have come back and played again, and even played plus be a part of working in the office, and or not. You're not going to be an assistant player, assistant coach, but it was a tough decision. It was hard because coming off a championship, that's all you want. You want to go and try and win it again. So it was very difficult to hang them up. Easier in the sense that now when I look back and reminisce, and the memories and the videos, is I got to go out, by winning one. Mm-hmm. But definitely wanted to come back, and that wasn't an easy decision. I know when I was back in Canada, I was just trying to carve my way through the business world a little bit and a couple different jobs. And I remember thinking at one point, talking to my mom and dad, just saying, I think I'm going to call Randy back up and see if there's a spot and make my way back. So, and then ended up landing a job that, seemed to work out for a little bit. And then that kind of made the decision on, all right, that's it. You got to hang them up. So yeah, it was a tough one though. Not that I wanted to end it, but had to come to an end.
Did you ever think you might want to coach?
Not, everybody is asked, and, just helping out and volunteering with a couple different hockey teams and getting a little bit involved here now with my son and daughter on some different sports teams. I've thought about that many times, but I think there was always a point where I knew I could still be playing at that age. So I never pursued it from a coaching side, because it was like, hey, you're only 28 years old. You could still be playing for another 10 years, right? Mm-hmm. And so that itch would have still been there. And it's funny, my wife jokes about it. She's like, how have you not stayed in that realm of hockey? And it's not that I wouldn't want to or try and work my way up somewhere. I follow Billy and success he's having, coaching and experiences, and just rewarding from that side. I thought about it, but I always knew I wanted to keep playing. And if I was in that mix, I probably would have tried to play instead of coaching. That wouldn't have worked out too well either. But yeah, so lived through the eyes of Billy Mack a little bit. I stay in touch with him and back and forth, so it's nice to see on that end.
By the way, he was the one. Yeah. He was the one that asked what your favorite Cup memory was. So.
Yeah.
I started thinking maybe there's something else that maybe we don't want to know.
Well, I know exactly which one he's talking about. I guess I could probably bring it up now. It was we were running out of the bar, and I think I wanted to take the cup home that night or something, whatever it was. So I grabbed it out of the bar, and Freak Daddy, I think he was around or something was happening, and I sniped it and I ran outside and ended up dropping it over my head. And I smashed it. It up. Yeah. So, yeah. I wonder if that's the one. I'll have to ask Billy if that's the one he's thinking of. But yeah, no, so we had to get that fixed and put it all back together and take it in. But no, it worked. I wonder if that's the one he's thinking about.
So you got brave after you took it into the pond and nothing happened. So.
I have to try and do something with it again, right? Yeah. Yeah. Try and make those memories last. We only had it for so long.
Yeah. Well, while you were still playing here in Huntsville, what was something that you did in your downtime?
Oh, what did we do? We did, being around a little bit in that summer, but it was, biking when the weather was nice, using that pool at our apartment complex when it was, weather was nice. Outside of volunteering, I picked up some Guitar Hero with some of the guys, and, I was into, learning a little bit more about real estate. Always tried to learn the guitar, but never could. Never really spent the amount of time, so maybe that was Guitar Hero work, but I would spend some of that downtime, learning about more cooking, how to cook better, different spices. I lived with Mike Carter, and so we were always testing stuff out on that end. And then, I would add some books around and learning about real estate and additional business from my schooling days.
So you keep talking about real estate. Is that what you're doing these days?
It's got a couple different things I do within the real estate realm. When we had moved, I dabbled a little bit in a couple of different properties when I was living in Calgary. Buddy and I purchased a couple properties, and then when we ended up moving to Houston, I had started a real estate company down there investing, and I just continued to grow that from buying, selling, holding, owner finance, just a lot of different methods and strategies, picking up properties and commercial properties, residential and commercial. And then once we had to move back to Calgary, to Canada, my wife and we've always been looking for a business as well. And real estate has always, for the last 10 years been a part of our life. So we started searching, and we ended up finding a property management company out here in Big Sky, Montana. And so we look after roughly about 150 homes, and they're all spread out throughout the mountain. And and four different sections of the mountain. But we're right in the heart of Big Sky, and so this is where everybody comes to vacation. They come out for the ski season for a month or two, and then they're back to either California, East Coast, wherever it may be, and then they come back out for the summer again. There's a lot of whitewater rafting, downhill mountain biking, fly fishing, world renowned here with the Gallatin River, Madison River. So yeah, we were doing some searching and fell within what we were looking for, and it's a small town, and raising our kids here, very outdoorsy. So we've been here since mid-December, so we're still very fresh, and but that's how we got into this, and moved back down to the U.S.
So you said it snowed up there a couple of weeks ago, so I'm imagining. I guess it's really snowy in December then.
Yeah, this past winter we didn't get as much snow as they have in the past, but yes, we get a lot of snow up here, and it lasts for a while, and everything's green around here right now. But it's not uncommon for it to snow in June, July, August. It's even just the weather can change a little bit. We're right in the heart of it. So yeah, we had 4 inches of snow on Monday and Tuesday. So just 2 days ago.
Oh, 2 days ago. Okay.
2 days ago. Yeah.
And I don't know what we would do here in Alabama if the snow stayed on the ground as long as it does there. We'd have people. I mean, the ice. I don't know what something snaps. I think in people's brains whenever we get ice on the ground down here.
Right. And there's no winter tires. There's no all season tires. It's summer tires. So no one's used to it. Similar to, I remember getting a couple skiffs when we were there and, driving around. But I know in Houston too, we would get a little bit of snow, very, very little, and then it would just turn into ice, and then they would shut down the overpasses. And it's just because there was a buildup of ice, and people would be smashing into the walls, and no one knew how to drive in that weather. But yeah, it's a little different up here. I'm not going to lie, I miss some of that southern weather.
Yeah. We had a little bit more snow on the ground this year than we've had in a while. So
okay,
it was. Still, I mean, nothing like what it is in Montana, but still, it's enough to cause some chaos and ruckus, so out on the roads.
For sure.
Well, I appreciate you taking your time and talking to me today.
Well, yeah, I appreciate you reaching out. So you've been reaching out to all former players or all players right now, or when did you start this thing?
We started this a little over a year ago, May of last year. And
nice.
So we had several former players, in the off season, and then once it got into the season, I was able to get some of the current players on in between practices and stuff.
Oh man, that's great. That's I love this. This is just great on you. You just sparked, it helped even just going up to the Range and chatting up with a bunch of other alumni that I played with up there back in the day, and just brought back some memories, and even just our conversation now and some things I haven't thought about in a while. And, bringing up those couple memories, and I was like, oh man, it's just, the number one that always stands out was the fans and, the support around there. And, so that's these things are great, because then you ask some of those questions we don't think about, and sparks the memory bank and brings back those good memories. So that's good. I'm glad you guys are doing this. This is great.
Well, and two, we're wanting to maybe do some episodes that have teammates in the conversation, more than just one, because I know that something one guy says will spark something from another guy. And we did have an episode back during the season with two of the current guys. They wanted to be on together, so we were like, yeah, come on. So there are some other ones we'd like to do with, former players.
Have to see if, I would do, I'd come on with Billy, Dean Pettio, even if we can get Mike Carter, that'd be good. It'd be good to get on with those couple guys. doesn't chat with them enough, and especially bantering back and forth a little bit on the air, because you're right. There'd be things that they would spark, and boom, oh yes, you remember that, and some Halloween nights and some team parties, just little stuff like that. Jeff Merzick, some of those guys would be, it'd be good. So I'd be open to that.
I appreciate your time, and we'll be getting back in touch with you down the road here and see if we can do some of those multiplayer calls.
I like that. And I appreciate you reaching out, Tim. Appreciate it. Good chatting with you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
That was former Havoc center Justin Rohr. Thanks to him for his time. The Reekin Havoc podcast continues in a minute.
The Reekin Havoc podcast. Join us now for Hockey 101, rules and game situations explained by the players themselves.
Former right wing Travis Caulfield defines icing.
So you have the puck and you're skating out of your end, so your goalie, and you shoot the puck before you get to the red line. So if you're trying to make a pass, or if you just shoot it and say it doesn't go, their goalie doesn't play it or come out to play it, and it doesn't go near any of their players, or any of their players have a chance to play the puck, and it crosses the goal line, it's icing.
We'll be back with the Reekin Havoc podcast.
In June of 2005, our twin girls were delivered, Melissa and Ann Catherine, and they were born 14 weeks early.
Amy and Chris George talk about the Melissa George Neonatal Memorial Fund.
They both weighed less than 2 pounds. Ann Catherine was 115 and Melissa was 1'9". Melissa lived for a couple of hours, but all of the medical technology in the world just could not have saved her, and she passed away while she was in the NICU. Chris realized pretty early that God had given us a platform that we could use to try to help people. So Chris and I started the Melissa George Neonatal Memorial Fund at Huntsville Hospital.
To know that Melissa's name is living on, her legacy continues. And I think that was very important to Amy and I, is why the fund is named after her. Because for 7 weeks, Melissa fought so that Ann Catherine would have a chance to live. And I think that we wouldn't be doing her name any justice if we didn't carry on, because we know we wanted to honor her and honor her legacy. And the community, Huntsville Havoc, the community in Huntsville itself, they've rallied around that. And it's been a wonderful support system for us. And I think for a lot of families too, when they see total strangers that are giving.
We're online at HuntsvilleHospitalFoundation.org. Click on the Melissa George Neonatal Memorial Fund, and you can give that way.
There's no donation that's too small, and every dollar is just as important as the next one. And if you're giving, then we understand you're giving because you care. And that's what's important, is that we've learned over the years that people give because they care.
And you can volunteer. If you're interested in that, you can click on the volunteer tab to fill out an application. We are grateful for any type of support, because we know that once we pull those dollars together, we can do big things.
For more information on the Melissa George Neonatal Memorial Fund, visit HuntsvilleHospitalFoundation.org.
Hey, this is Jeremy Gervais, and you're listening to the Reekin Havoc podcast.
Internships are available with the Havoc for the upcoming season. Go to the Contact Us tab at HuntsvilleHavoc.com and click on Internships. The 2024 On Ice Summer Youth Camp will be July 22nd through 25th for ages 8 to 14. Cost is $330 for skaters and $275 for goalies. Go to the menu at HuntsvilleHavoc.com, select Fan Zone, and click on Havoc Youth Camp to register. The annual Showcase Camp will be July 26th through 28th at the Huntsville iSports Center. 8 players from last year's camp ended up playing professional hockey last season. Cost is $250. For more information, go online to HuntsvilleHavoc.com/showcase-camp. Season tickets for next year are on sale. Full, half, or quarter season plans are available. Go to the menu at HuntsvilleHavoc.com and click on the Tickets tab. Summer hours for the Havoc front office are Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. till 4 p.m.
Hear the Reekin Havoc podcast wherever you go. On your favorite podcast platform, on your Amazon Echo device by saying, Alexa, play the Reekin Havoc podcast via the PAS Plus app and online at ReekinHavoc.com.
The Reekin Havoc podcast. For those returning from military service, the transition back to civilian life isn't always easy.
Retired Marine Gunnery Sergeant Bill Cook talks about still serving veterans.
The mission of Still Serving Veterans is to serve and honor veterans and their families by empowering them to build meaningful lives. And we do that through connecting to fulfilling careers, getting the benefits they deserve, or the services that they need. We have never charged anybody anything for our services. A group of business leaders in town felt there was a need to help the seriously wounded make that transition back into civilian life. Employment services, VA benefits, and connections to other community services. That's what we do. If you're a veteran and you need help, please get a hold of us. Go to that website, ssv.org, and you can find out pretty much anything you need to know about still serving veterans.
In Huntsville, call 256-883-7035.
For tickets, official Huntsville Havoc merchandise, and more, go to huntsvillehavoc.com. Visit our website at reekinhavoc.com. Look for us on Facebook, Instagram, X, and Threads. And listen, follow, and subscribe to the Reekin Havoc podcast on your favorite platform to keep up with the only weekly podcast covering the Huntsville Havoc, the Reekin Havoc podcast.